What's up everyone, it's Jambor's new video and this one will be special. It's a masterclass video and it's a masterclass of my own staging at Eurovision, which comes for Lake Malawi, Czechia 2019. And this is a staging I'm extremely proud of, but that doesn't mean I think it's perfect. I will watch it with you. I will point out some notes basically, which I need to find where I put my notes. And I will tell you what I would improve nowadays, what also led to this staging, why it looks how it looks, and maybe why it's not so pompous, or why the guys are looking like extremely urban, extremely like no show, let's say, act. Because there is every single reason, every single decision, blah, 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 whatever it means. I really would like you to deep dive at least a little bit how the staging was created and why it looks how it looks, and how it, for example, differs a little bit from semi-final to final. Lots of whys and lots of answers basically, and also the critique of myself, like what today I would do differently or a little bit, because I don't think I would do crazily different stuff, also because I wouldn't be able to do it, because on the other hand, and I think this is very important to say, so many things happened with the discussion with Lake Malawi, with Albert, with all the band crews. It was a cooperation about this, because what we wanted, what I wanted, what everybody wanted, for them to feel safe and good in what they are doing at Eurovision, to feel authentic, to feel themselves, to enjoy, to really bring in the best A game, let's say, for this indie band and indie song. So let's now watch it together, and then let's also comment on it, do it. So I will record my screen, but I will also use another camera over there for doing it. I didn't see it in a while, like properly like this. It was so hardcore to make those frames to be created somehow, to fit the stage and to work the way we wanted when we were 13. You can also see that here in the framing, so that it's not the perfect graphic. It was complicated, this effect, to create the way. It's not perfect because all the time the cameras must be exact at the same position, perfectly hardcore. But I think no one really saw it in the fast bit, but it could have been done much better, this effect. It was very hard with the camera guys there to really tell them what exactly effect we want. We were playing with this curve, which is Lake Malawi's logo basically, a lot, as a beat supporter, But you can also feel that it's somehow very empty, And this is the worst decision I think I made based on my team also feedback, which I shouldn't do. And I love this effect. Yes, it looks a little bit, I think it should have been done a little bit more dynamic somehow, but also more filled. And I love this because this opens the arena. It brings the joy, I love this. I call this a Mercury shot, and I think this is one of the significant or signature things for the staging. And I don't remember that the guys from Lake Malawi said, but why did you put this passage to recap, Somehow I wanted to empathize this friend feeling, but of course it wasn't a good choice. And now I would choose a different part. But I don't think this is the reason why it failed kind of in the finals for the public. I think there are many other reasons. After a very good result, Alright, so this was the final clip. And I will now tell you some, so why it worked, why, blah, 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 blah. This is serious. For example, this part when she says, I'm only a friend, I really asked them properly. So if you watch the semi-final clip, which I think I have in here, it's 1:16. So if I put it 1:16, so let's wait for this moment in here. This is semi-final. You can see that it's not timed perfectly, And I really, really seriously asked, like, can we please do it on time? Because otherwise it makes no sense, right? So this was all planned, all prepared. But what is important? So first of all, how to approach the staging for the band, which won Eurovision, and said to me directly, we want to have, and we don't want to look like Eurovision stereotype stuff. We don't want to be these glitter guys, and we don't want to be this basic completely anti-Eurovision, let's say. like it was very hard to also make them to go to Eurovision national selection, because basically they despised Eurovision and the stereotypical way what Eurovision was for them back then, or how Eurovision was pictured and where it come back. I'm, for example, doubting that when Albert would hear this year's Eurovision, he would say, "I will go there," because he was like, actually, it's really the stereotypes, and yeah, but we were able to somehow tell him that maybe it might be stereotypical however he thinks, but it's 200 million people watching, and this might be his fan base. Few of them, even if 1%, even if like 0.01%, it's still a lot of people who might support his band and what he's doing actually. So I think after all, this conversation was very productive and all of it. Then they won the national selection, and also we started to think about the staging with this in case. We want to be absolutely common. We are indie band. We don't want something extra. We don't want to look like, basically, like, don't stylize us to something what we are not. It's like, okay, but what would you like to be? That was the first thing, because I think they didn't know back then at all. And I think even nowadays, when I would be talking with one member of Lake Malawi who was always very negative about everything, every idea, he never came with any solutions, But somehow this was very fascinating storytelling. Like if I see it now from the from the different point of view, this is so fascinating how it somehow was turning up to be like, be whatever you want there, be very you. That's why they had those sweaters, because after all they are from Albert's sister made. But I think he came with this idea. He or Christoph, who's now head of delegation, came with that idea because he had it on some party, like to wear this. It's like, let's make it a thing. Let's make it you are normal, regular guys, urban wear. You don't need to have glitters. You just be yourself. Very easy. But there it goes with one thing, and that there must be something. You just cannot go there up here and just think, you have 3 minutes, it's television. There must be something compelling, something specific, which will make it look at least not just no one really cared about anything. And that's why where those frame came in, which was amazing coincidence of things. So first of all, I've been to Norway, or I know I wasn't in Norway, actually I was in Finland, but I was watching the Norwegian national selection also. And then there was one band having this effect that they were in the cube, which at some point they took out from the picture by the effect, and it looked like they are flying in the space. And I was like, oh my god, I never thought that this is kind of possible, but what actually, why not with the technology Eurovision provides with editing, So I came with this idea of frames, that they will kind of frame each and single character of Lake Malawi, those 3 guys basically, and they will be like a space thing. They can move, like 2D around it, and we can play with this effect, which we need a frame for to make somehow justification that it has a correct shape, let's say, something what is physical, which makes you a little bit more appeal that it's possible that it's moving. It's not just frame cut in the picture. And that's why I'm still very unhappy about how it was kind of shot, that it's not perfectly lined up, but that came with some issues, and this is always what you need to take as a trade-offs, or you might take it as a trade-offs. Anyway, so we came with this idea, with those frames. They were, in the beginning, they were much bigger than this, and then they told us like, okay, but we need to do a little bit different measures there to fit the stage, also because of the heaviness and so on, because you can think like anything can go at Eurovision stage, but you need to go with also some safety measures. It's not like just you go there. So this was the first thing. The second thing was closing, and then of course we were rehearsing like crazy all the time. And before actually this was made up, I worked with 2 amazing people, Lukáš Veverka, who was helping me with all those graphics, backdrops behind, and also the animation. So everybody in Eurovision team, before we went to head of delegation meeting, when you're basically talking about those ideas, they received all of it, how it looks without the camera cut, and also edits. So with this graphical part, Lukáš Veverka helped me, and then Karolina Lukášková was helping me a lot with the shooting it in our rehearsal room, and also with the edit, when we spent so much crazy time when she was editing all those frames and so on. It wasn't that easy to do it like nowadays, 2090s, the computers weren't that powerful as nowadays. It would be like that, much faster. Back then it was not easy to do, but we were playing with those framings, I think I can show you. I will show you later if I will find a video how really it looked. Actually, I will do it now. Yeah. So for example, this one was from the rehearsal room because we first of all we played with those colors, that it will be colorful. But the problem issue with this was that when we tried it, because this was the first initial idea that also those frames will be colors like that, like more giving it more vibe. The problem was that with LED screen it didn't really colorate well, and also with the frames and the technical inability of making those frames be exactly cut it like they are in this picture somehow. So we needed to put this idea aside with putting the colors in the frames. This is the first visualization. So the fascinating thing I forgot to tell you. So this is one of, I don't know if this is the final one. We want this staging to start with the story. It was all the story that old Albert is putting this MC, tape in his headphones and play it and remembering how it was to be a young person. The issue with this was that after all, on the big stage and with all the story, it didn't work out very well. So this is the edit actually, and this is what the stage is doing. You can see how complex we did it. And this is from our rehearsal room. This is the stage concept, what it's doing, So you can imagine how much work was there behind, and you can see also how we wanted on beat the frames to react. This was our wooden frames.
We were 13.
I loved when everybody was asking what are those frames for,
There's not much between us now, do you know what I mean?
So this was the first, but I will maybe find a bigger one. But you understand the principle, because after all we send them the visualization, the full one of course, the whole performance. But I really would like to find our full edit, which I don't know where I have. So much work we spent on it, really, every single detail, and then one few details I told myself, So for example, the very fascinating thing, it was very hardcore for the team of Eurovision to make this Mercury movement clear. And you already find out from my masterclasses I'm crazy about camera movements, and that every single movement or not happening, it's not correct. And it was for them, they were following the Albert really very smooth way. I said no, you need to react on him and then move on. And this is what we did. This is actually on phone. So this is how they change through and you go to them, stop, and then again on his signal go. And it's it feels like a stupid thing to do. This is actually the shot, and this is actually how we then cooperate with the team at Eurovision on site, because it's important that even you do every work, then after all other people are doing it, and if they don't see clearly into your head and there are so little details, you can still do some work about it. And I wasn't satisfied with the camera movement. I needed to shoot it to really show them you go with the phone like this, stop, and then go again, because it was very flow moment, but it's completely different vibe when it's done like that. So you can understand. I'm taking you back into the kitchen basically. I'm looking if I have really this backstage video somewhere. This was the staging script. So this is every single edit cut of how on every single phrase, every single moment we needed that it goes somewhere. So not that they just received video treatment, complete edit, complete graphical edit, what's happening on stage, what's happening on camera, how cuts are going after each other, the let's say the flow of the edit, the look of the edit, the effects, but also every single phrase, every single word was basically done in edit before. You can see that's 59 cuts only basically, which I think for this song it's just enough, because there were so many effects, and sometimes with edit you support the beat, but you can do it graphically. So when the graphic works and or those frameworks and there is something supporting the beat, you don't need to edit. So this was one thing. This is a stage guide, the treatment basically. So this is how this looked. This is basically what was the plot, how the visual should look like, what's the special editing and so on. But I think this is not final. I had some version somewhere better. What else? Staging feedback, stage design, visualization. Yes, what can I show you? So this was the parts where we showed how it should react. There were some experimental also things, how, because we normally thought that we will also put them into more like a 3D space, but after all this was extremely expensive. This is the another treatment where we basically played color palette, what we are using, what we want to use, the effects and so on. Then of course we reduce some stuff which would work better or not, because it's a little bit different when you do it even on perfect visualization than you see it in the arena, or which complicates stuff and so on. Staging script, I show you the visualization. I don't know if I have somewhere the full visualization with this jumping effect somewhere. I had it full, but I don't know where it is. I really would like to show you the full edit, which was done by Carolina. Here it is. So it started with this old Albert, this is young Albert, and then he transferred to his memory. But after all, this was fascinating. It was extremely hard to make sense when we saw it live on stage, but during rehearsals. This was impossible to translate. Like, it was in our head, we knew the idea, but when everybody was watching, it's like, what is this? It's like, no, let's get rid of it. Let's not have it, because too complicated. Okay, it's a story. It makes sense, but it doesn't really work. It doesn't work together.
Making the same sounds.
So this is from the rehearsal rooms, you know.
Can you hear it?
Then you can compare it.
Who is it? You said you wish there
Like a music video, kind of.
such a long time.
And then after this, I will show you what I will do a little bit differently.
She was my neighbor when we were 13.
Imagine
She moved back in.
that you can do this. This is like a raw edit, you know.
There's not much between us now, do you know what I mean? She's only a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. She's never home, but she plays in a band.
And the fascinating thing was also that the guys who were doing the music video of them, they came with a very similar idea of working as an Instagram posts, which I was like, you cannot name it. Like, we have the same, like, not the same concept of the idea, let's say, but the visualization very similar idea, you know.
If you understand, she's only a friend of a friend of a friend. I had a dream that you walked through the door.
And this is how we played with the colors, but it was impossible then with the LED screen to make it look normal. It didn't really work.
I'm only a friend.
This we added this lady.
Can you feel it? Someone sliding.
And he added this slide, I think it wasn't here.
Breathe in.
But I think in here you will be also able to watch the effect. Yes, so
She's never home.
yes, he will come in here. And I think we experimented with this a lot because he needed to train the movement. Because you see that everything is on the static floor, you know. This is another.
I'm only a friend.
Yes, I think in here it's this missing. This we added this, that he basically comes to the drummer, and then he jumps here. But as you can see, it's one space, right? So he needed to learn how to jump in ways that he jumps into like down, you know, really into the hole, which in reality doesn't exist, which you can see then in the real video, that when he goes here, he need to jump, but like normally he's jumping from here, from here, you know, but we need to do like this. He's jumping from here. So this is how he needed to train exactly the jump, and it really looks that he fall. So I really love this one. I really love the beat, but what actually I would change in here in general, and I think this was the initial biggest mistake, like among more things, was that I listened to the fact that this part, actually particular part over here, and also the other one, weren't beating. Basically, I kept them empty. They, like originally, because we didn't think about it before, they added the color. It was basically copying the color palette of the stage, so it was creating the space more spatial, let's say. It was holding it together. But then I listened that, oh, this is kind of like a element, it told me like never listen to people who has no knowledge about those things. But this is the real. Now I really miss it because now it feels empty. What I would do actually now is that I would also make this pulse, of course, but I will make pulse everything else, because it feels really kind of empty. Like somehow I would push this to make it feel, to make it dance, to make it scream, because when you hear the beat in here, I'm only a friend. This could dance because here only the LED screen dances basically, but you don't have her in the all shots, not you. Of course, this changes color on the beat, but again the color palette, it should be maybe more like green and white or something which is more contrasted to each other, so you can really see it, so it really dances a little bit to make it dance more. You can also see the floor is doing the beat, but somehow you have so many empty space over there, and this creates this weird feeling I have from it. If it dances also, if it fills the space with the dance, so it basically changes the color, this part, the same way, and not all the lights the same, but let's say one, like every even light a little bit different than in the other one. This will dance, it will fill the arena much better, even though you don't concentrate there is something missing in the frame, because then you can see, even though those frames are also changing colors a lot, the brightness of it feels that it doesn't really do it well, but you can see it's blue, white, yellow, blue, and so on, so it really reacts on the beat and everything, but it's not that visible. And you can now see, I think this shot is brilliant, that also those lines should be filled, those people should be a little bit more filled. There are so many empty spaces which do nothing. Also, I would put the light behind it to do something. I know it would maybe a little bit break the effect what we were used to, but I would still change it for the fact that I need this space to don't look like grieving. And I think this was the biggest mistake of this staging in general, that we focus only on the central part. Of course, I wasn't that experienced as I am now, that we focused only on the central part, but we forgot about to filling the whole stage, or change the shots not to go to such, you can see it also in here. It feels like grieving, it feels empty, it feels alone, it feels dark, and this song is more filled, and this should all play with colors and dance all the time, because whenever you watch it, it feels there's something missing, at least for me. Of course, with those we couldn't do anything. You can see that we changed the effect that they was blinking with the LED behind them, but it wasn't possible to really do it in combination of color graded completely. But I think that after all a little bit worked better. And here you can see the movement that he needs to stop. This is what I showed you. He goes, he stops, and then he tell him, come with me again, and that's why it feels somehow natural. For example, this is what Marina Sati mistake was last year, that they focused on irrelevant thing, but they should focus on the camera movement, that it should be a little bit instead of floating, it shouldn't be perfect, sorry, I will just make this a little bit darker. Yeah, so this is how it is with the staging. You can see that from this shot it works, and I think also this kind of works, it doesn't work in the snippet, it works live, this part, and also I like the ending. What I was thinking, and I would do it definitely now, I would add this a little bit of sounds like to really support it a little bit more with the end, and also a little bit different backdrop for this, not this red and yellow, reddish. I would make it maybe blue, more positive, but still you can see that with those lights, if they are colorful, if they are there all the time with us, somehow filling the space, it doesn't feel empty. This was the really mistake what we do. But after all, I think this staging kind of worked well. Why we didn't receive so many points from the public then? I think the reason was that it's still indie band. I think that, they received a lot of points in the semi-final. I think this was our best result actually, or maybe after Mikolas Josef, but maybe even better. I'm not sure now. I need to watch actually. Anyway, a lot, and then actually let's watch it. Yes, we were second with. But there was also jury, and also in here we didn't receive crazy number of points from public, 85. but so many points from juries. And I think we received even more in the finals from juries, or very similar amount, 150 actually. So we lost a little bit, one country basically, but only 7 points from the public. I think that came with two things. First of all, we came third in the semi-final, and second of all, in the competition, when you see it, it's maybe not that compelling with this trick, especially when you're in this time of start. It's a different indie song. And I think a lot of people are saying like, but the snippet and everything should have been better. Like, it should have been better. That's a no-brainer. But I don't think this is the point when you're really deciding if you put votes or not. Because if you receive 7, that means you really didn't talk to people that well, which I think it's exactly for those reasons I put here, that we didn't make the staging at some point that compelling as it was. Maybe also the charisma of the artist. I don't know, you can see that maybe we could work on it a little bit differently, maybe from their energy. But on the other hand, they were them, and our main goal was to let the artists be themselves, who they are, and to support them with things they agree with. Nowadays, of course, I would do it a little bit differently with the approach. But back then, I didn't, it's how long? 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I didn't have too much experience. This was my second staging directing, but the first staging by concept. And I would think about much more details nowadays. Much more than back then. But it was a lesson. It was nice. I would really wish to do some more stagings nowadays, especially because I like the designing and design the idea and really fulfill the artist needs, to support the artist and the song, because sometimes it's contrary. You can see that not everybody really focus on both of the sides, and also this is the connecting, because after all, this is the main role over there, and this guy must pop out and must sell the song himself, herself, so this is the masterclass, what I would do a little bit differently. And you can see in here when it's lit up, it gives you the vibe to where to look. When it's this kind of shot, it feels empty, it feels dark, it feels something is missing, it feels small, it feels black. Such was a mistake in my opinion. It should have been more pompous, for example, those bridges, but anyway, this is what we did. This is how we decided to do it. It didn't work 100% well, but actually before the contest, no one really believed that Lake Malawi would make it even to the finals. Even in here, what are the frames for? I remember how hard it was to really make all those ideas happen. It's not that easy if you think that somebody will come and we will do it this way, this is happening. No, it's a lot of also politics. Some people from Czech television, they always wanted some balloons falling from the ceiling. I was like, oh my god, technically this will never come up. We will not be able to afford it. And not because there is no way how to make ideas happen, but like, you need to first of all understand what's really realistic. And so many people have some ideas, but having no clue about what really is possible, and this complicated stuff, and so on and so on. So this is kind of hardcore on this work. On the other hand, I think we made it. I'm still proud of it very much. Would I do things a little bit better? 100%. And you would see that if I put so many other details in motion, the staging would look 2 times better. Actually, so like little details in such a case make such a huge difference. It's like a really feeling, like with this camera movement. If it's smooth only, it feels like wrong. But when you stop it and then move it again, it does this effect. And this is the detail, right? It's just a little bit different stepping. It works. This makes a difference. So this is what I want to teach you. This is what I wanted to give you. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.